Hi, thanks for joining me for the last week of our spooky series for quick business tips. Today, we're going to talk about tech terrors and how you can create your own simplicity spellbook of digital tools to banish these terrors for the rest of your business career. Now, our first terror is the haunted website. Let's be honest. We've all either experienced ourselves or have seen someone else's website that is a little bit more like that super creepy old house that everyone was afraid to ride their bike past when they were kids. Instead of this beautiful, welcoming house that is warm and cozy and just sucks you right in with the smell of cookies. That's what we want our website to be for our customers. And the easiest way to turn your website into more of a haunted house than a warm, welcoming cottage is by not having a header that really represents what it is that you do, what problem that you solve, and tells your viewer whether or not they're in the right place. So typically we like to see the header. So like the large text at the top of the screen, there's usually a picture involved somewhere. We want both the picture and the words to align with what you do, what problem you solve. Because if it is too cutesy, too vague, um, your viewer doesn't really know if they're in the right place. Or a lot of times I see people that are using those $100 words, really long, really big, or words that are only used in the industry by the people in the know. Like when marketers talk about KPIs and ROIs and things like that, that's not what you want in your header. You don't know that that's really what you want anywhere on your website. Because if your customer isn't using those words to describe the problem that they have or the result that they're looking for, then it's not the right word for them. Your website is there to speak to your customer, not to make you sound like the smartest person in the room. And I see a lot of headers that are so vague, they could be anything. So maybe it's an insurance company and they say, making your life better. Cool. I've also seen a similar phrase used by realtors and remodeling companies and accountants and life coaches. And, it's just so vague. I can't possibly know if I'm in the right place. So, in the marketing world, we have a term that we use. We call it above the fold. And we use it to talk about websites. It is the area of your website that you can see where you're not scrolling. So when you first load your website and you don't scroll at all, that what you see right there is above the fold. Now, above the fold exists in at least 3 different versions. So it exists in what you see when you're viewing your website on your desktop. It exists in what you see when you're viewing your website on a tablet. And it exists in a completely different form when you're viewing the website on your phone. And it's important to know what each of these forms look like on each device and ask yourself if this is telling your viewer enough about who you are and what you do without being terribly wordy, but just enough for them to know, okay, I'm in the right place. It's worth my time to now scroll down and learn more about this company, right? Because if you start out in your header with like, let's say you're a life insurance company and you've got a picture of a mountain and large text that says improving your life. I don't That's not speaking to me in any way, shape, or form. But if I go on to an insurance company's site and we've got a house, a car, and a happy family, and it says, insuring America since 1932. Cool. They have what I want. This is where I want to be. Let's see what's next in the process, right? All you want to do is pique their interest enough to keep them on the page and let them know that they're in the right place. The second terror that we're going to talk about this week is the social media graveyard. Because let's face it, a lot of you are still posting and ghosting. And there are two things that are going to, for sure, make your social media feel a lot more like a graveyard than a party. And that is not engaging with your audience and not choosing the right platform to begin with. So a lot of businesses will choose a platform that they either think is popular or they'll choose a platform that they themselves use. But it's really important to know for sure where most of your perfect customers are already spending their time. So if your perfect ideal customer is a 20-something-year-old person, let's say girl, TikTok is probably a better place for you to be spending your time than Facebook. But if your customer is a commercial builder, then it's probably not TikTok or Facebook where they're spending their time. It might be LinkedIn. And so you really need to find out where it is, choose that platform first and foremost, become an expert, really grow that audience, engage with them. And then if you feel like it's worth your time, you can always choose a second platform and grow your audience there as well. Because 100% of your customers are not going to be on one platform, but more than 50% of them are probably on the same platform. And so that's where you want to spend your time. But you still can't post and ghost. You have to engage, which means liking and commenting, thoughtfully commenting on the posts that your customers or your referral partners are posting on that platform. The third terror that we're going to talk about this week is the email monster. Now, email gets a bad rap because a lot of people are using it in more of a manual way than an automated way. And by automated, I do not mean AI. We never want AI to write something for us without editing it thoroughly and thoughtfully, giving it our own voice, our warmth, our heart before it gets sent out. Okay? So let's just right on the table at the very front. AI should not be writing your social media posts, should not be writing your emails, should not be writing your comments for you on social media without any kind of significant editing process going on before it gets sent out to your audience. Now, automation is simply having your database segmented into different buckets and then pre-writing campaigns that fit that particular bucket. So I work with a lot of realtors. They're going to have a bucket for people looking to buy. They're going to have a bucket of people looking to sell. They're going to have a bucket of first-time home buyers because what they need from a realtor is going to be different from, say, an investor bucket, right? People that are buying multiple homes for investment properties are not going to want the same nurture email sequence as a first-time home buyer. Now, when you're just starting out, you're going to have one or two buckets. And then as you start growing out and segmenting your list a little bit more, you can create more and more narrowly focused buckets. And then you're going to pre-write 15 to, let's say, 50 emails that are going to add value for the people who are in these buckets. So a first-time homebuyer email nurture campaign is probably going to go through a lot of the terminology, right? Going to go through a lot of the process, some things that like maybe you've never thought of because you've never bought a home. Maybe you don't realize that you don't just put an offer, get it accepted, and then a week later you move in, right? There's a process. We have inspections and appraisals and inspection responses, and you're going to want to walk them through all of that in some kind of email sequence. But imagine instead of, even if you're copying and pasting from a document that you have, instead of opening up an email and being like, okay, Sue, I had that first meeting with you. You're a first-time home buyer. Here's some information that you might need. Copy and paste. And then sending that out manually every time you meet with a first-time home buyer. What if instead you just dropped Sue into a bucket and knew that every 7 days she would receive an email from you that you wrote 3 months ago that's going to quickly and give her quick and easy bite-sized things that she can digest week after week. And at the end of this process, as you're showing her homes, she's learning about how home buying works. And when she's finally ready to put in an offer, she's learned enough information. She's gotten so much value from you. She now trusts you so much more. You've given her so much advice. She's so grateful for you. Like, of course, she's going to be more than happy to not only use you for this transaction, but every transaction moving forward. Now you get Sue into her first house, and then you drop her into the new homeowner bucket. And so, quarterly, you're sending her seasonal maintenance things that she might want to do in her home. Maybe you're sending her some events that are coming up in her new neighborhood, things like that. But it's all happening automatically. So you're not having to take the time out of your day to think about it, then either copy and paste or just completely write from scratch this email. You're constantly staying in touch with her. You're staying top of mind. You are going to be the first person she thinks of when anyone says anything about, well, I'm kind of thinking about selling, or I'm kind of thinking about buying a house. Oh my gosh, I had the great experience with this realtor. And it's not like maybe it's been 3 months since you worked with her. And in most cases, maybe you wouldn't have reached out to her in those 3 months. But because you have an automated email sequence, she's been getting valuable information from you every week. If she can't, for whatever reason, remember your name, she can pull up her email and knows that, like, there's an email from you from last week, or she's going to get one in a couple of days, and she can easily give your information to her friend. Automation is one of the most valuable and yet significantly underused practices in small business. And the reason that it's underused is completely understandable. Writing a series of emails feels incredibly time consuming. But when you think about how much time you're going to save over the next year or 3 or 10, it's a no-brainer. And a lot of different CRMs will provide you very similar services. So you just got to figure out what it is you're looking for, the price point, and all of those things, whatever feels right for you. But if you work on these 3 things, your website header, social media platform and engagement, And finding the right CRM for you and setting up at least a very basic email automation for your database is going to make your life a whole lot easier, make your marketing feel a whole lot easier, and make closing the sales feel exponentially easier. Thanks for joining me for this week's quick business tip. I'm Jennifer with Limitless Impact Agency.